Hey folks, Killboy here, and I am checking out Sharif's recently acquired Ford Focus RS. Take it for a little drive here. He's done a little bit of tweaking to the tune and said it's a pretty spunky little car apparently. Has some good handling and good power characteristics, so take it for a little drive and see how it does. So what are your first impressions, Mr. This is my friend and owner of Forge Performance, Sharif Bassett.
Alright, so first thing is turn that shit off.
Where's the volume? Where's the volume?
Okay.
Right where it should be.
The next thing you gotta do is put this in the right mode. When it's in, at least I find, and you can try all different modes, that when it's in the rear wheel drive drift mode, which is 70% rear, 30% front, it handles phenomenally well. The steering feels like a rear-wheel drive car. Trail brakes really well. There's zero understeer, and you can just power out into the corner, coming out of the corner. It feels terrific. So, and you found the telescoping feature. Wow, I should have had you drive this.
To clear this
up,
up, right?
God,
He drove it home and was like, the steering wheel is too far away. I was like, it doesn't telescope. He's like, I don't think so. So brand new car, still figuring things out.
Still figuring it out, figuring out new features. All right, so we put drive mode into the drift mode.
Track use only. It says on the dash, track use only.
So don't try this at home.
Don't try this on public highways like we're about to.
Then we're going to completely disable all the traction and stability control nonsense. So you're going to push and hold the off button.
Right in a canyon. Have you seen that video?
Have you been on this road? It's really windy and scary, Daryl. Be careful. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the auto off, idle feature.
Engine, it cuts the engine off for efficiency.
Right, so that I think is off. All right, it's off. And do you want me to heat the steering wheel for you? Are you okay?
So you have to do 3 button pushes to get into this.
Correct, and you can do it while you're driving. You don't have to be at a full stop or anything like that. So, but like I was telling you earlier, out of the box, I think this is the best handling car that you're going to find for under $45,000.
Yeah, and you haven't really done anything to it. It's still got the factory tires. It's got a factory exhaust.
That's right.
Yeah, there's really hasn't been any kind of.
So far, what I've done is I put a Cobb access port on it and a custom tune from us, and then I just did a little bit of road tuning out here. Just kind of tweaked a couple things, but
I haven't really done a full dyno
everything
tune yet.
Is totally stock. It has not been on the dyno yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. Clutch is not quite as soft as the factory BRZ clutch, but it's not that race clutch on the turbo BRZ. Still have the seat a little too far forward. Spunky. Nice. Kind of want to over rev it because it's a little quiet.
Yep.
It doesn't have the auto rev match on downshift.
Right, it does not.
I wonder if that's something that can be added in, like some of the other tuning options for other cars allow. Does Cobb do that?
Cobb does not yet. And I'm not honestly sure if they will. It's definitely a feature that can be programmed, but I think possibly for liability reasons they're not entertaining that right now. But
everything's still by throttle by wire anymore.
Correct, and it just having full control over a drive-by-wire always makes people a little bit nervous because that means there can be a disconnect between the gas pedal and what the throttle is.
But they're getting so good at that now. It's like it's almost imperceptible. The response time and everything is quick. There was a time there when they were first starting to put that feature on cars where it was a little. I know our Mini Cooper S had that, electronic throttle, and anytime you're at a stop and you push the gas pedal, there's like a half-second delay.
Right.
And coming from driving the S2000s with the mechanical connection, it was always so instant.
Yep.
You had to sort of adjust your timing for that.
I think ECU Tech is planning to launch software for the Focus, and I suspect that they will have that feature available.
Yeah, I think that's always been one of their strengths, is their additional, features that they add to the basic tune, the factory tune.
Yeah, the car is so quiet. The first thing we need to do is just open up the exhaust a little bit.
Yeah, even just for drivability,
right.
It can be so quiet that it's hard.
Right.
You really end up sort of spending too much time with your attention focused on the gauges instead of on what's in front of you, and using your ears to hear what's going on with the engine. Maximizing all your senses instead of just using your sight for everything.
Right. It is a pretty short red line too, surprisingly for a fairly small engine. So the factory red line is, I think, 6,700, and it'll let you go to like 68, 69 for a moment. And the gearing is also pretty short. So at least I found myself, in second gear has great pull and great response, but then right at kind of corner exit, I'm almost up against the limiter. But third doesn't have quite enough pull from down low, so I kind of find myself vacillating between second and third on these type of real tight technical corners.
Now, there's always like an adjustment whenever you get into a new stick shift car and you're learning where the gates are and everything. I just accidentally shifted from second to fifth, driving casually, so sometimes when you're driving more aggressively, that's not as much of a problem. But how do you feel about the shifting?
I think it feels really good. It doesn't have that super positive, ratchety feel of, let's say, like a Porsche GT3 or like the S2000. But it doesn't feel sloppy either. It just feels.
There's just a lot of gates there.
Yeah, it's a little bit numb, but I've never missed a shift up here, so it gets into the gear. Feels a little bit heavy, like weight-wise.
Yeah, you can almost feel like there's a counterweight on the other end of that shifter or something.
Exactly. So, but like you said, I think it's a matter of getting used to it.
Try to get turned around here.
It's got a. Oh, here, hold on. Hold on.
How's reverse go?
Yeah, so
That's
you
a
pull
collar
up
thing.
on this guy, and then
Like the Subarus.
Yeah. And it's got a really poor turning radius, surprisingly.
It's all-wheel drive, maybe.
I don't know. Wait, you're in. Oh, you're good. My bad.
Make sure they roll backwards off that little golf ball. Yeah, it's got a lot less understeer sort of front-wheel drive feel than I expected. And frankly, kind of what the impression I got was that it was from other people that it was a pushy car, but it's not bad at all.
So I was going to mention, so now the suspension is on the standard mode. There's the sport suspension where it stiffens up the shocks 40%. And maybe give that a try and let me know your impressions. I'm not sure which one I like better for these type of roads.
Right. Now, is that the one that's the button on the end?
It's the button on the end of the stalk there on the turn signal, and you push it in and hold it for a moment, and then you'll see on there you go, you get the little shock thing. And right away you can tell it is very, very bumpy. It's almost like it needs more spring to hold. I think it's kind of one of those things, like the faster you go, the better the sport suspension feels. The slower you go, it's like I want that slight softness back to help the car get around the corners, transfer weight.
Even lugging it a little bit, it comes out pretty nicely. It's third gear in a second gear turn, and
the fact that it doesn't have understeer just blows my mind for a bone stock car.
Yeah.
I mean, every car,
a domestic,
that drives
like a European hot hatch, That's great.
Every other sports car I've ever taken to a track has always had understeer at the limit. You know, Porsche Cayman S, the new GT3, the GTR. You know, you can just go down the entire list. 370Z, STI, WRX. They all understeer at the limit, and this one does not.
Which I guess that's considered safe, and that's what people are especially in America, are kind of accustomed to. So if you don't give them that, they end up in ditches and stuff because they're not trained to handle a neutrally steering or maybe even a little bit oversteering, car. It's just what we're used to. Yeah, that's really bouncy.
Yeah.
So if you push and hold it, does it switch back?
Yep, switches back. So.
I'm not sure if I switched it back or not. What's the icon?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah, it feels a little better, but it's still pretty firm.
Yeah, the standard suspension seems to have pretty good shock valving. It's firm, but it's not very porpoisey. It's not very shocking the chassis much. But on that sport mode, especially on these type of bumpy technical roads, it really bounces us around.
Yeah, there's like a pothole right there that'll really absorb it nicely in this more comfort or softer mode.
And like I was telling you in the parking lot, this really is the first time I've ever gotten a new car where I didn't immediately want to put coilover, sway bars, bushings, wheels, I mean, like, a lot of times I get those cars, this, I don't even show them or drive them.
Yeah, the BRZ was like,
exactly. Just didn't even want to drive
already
it.
Had it all transferred.
Right. Whereas this car is pretty good out of the box. Definitely room for improvement, but I'm very impressed with the handling, kind of bone stock configuration.
Brakes are pretty good. They're a little soft, but that's not bad for factory. The pedal could be a little firmer, but it definitely slows down very nicely. They picked the right tires too. That's really cool that they put PSSs on here. It comes with the Michelin Pilot Super Sports.
Right.
And then an extra set of winter wheels and tires if you order that package.
We're going to have some fun this winter time. Pray for snow.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, the car does handle a lot better now that the tire pressures have been reduced from the 65 PSI level that the car was delivered with down to a more reasonable 35.
Yeah, if you end up in one of these, first thing to do, check the tire pressures from the factory, because for some reason they were like universally overinflated. It wasn't like it was one or two of them that was wrong.
Right.
It was like they intentionally put them all at some kind of ridiculous double the pressure they really should have been at reading. And so when he first drove it, he was not impressed with the handling and the grip levels.
Right.
And then it turned out they had super high pressure.
So what do you think overall, Daryl?
I like it. Feels kind of tall.
Yeah.
Even with the seat down.
Yeah.
It's not a low sitting car like what I'm used to with the 8.6s, but
and I wanted to thank you for discovering the telescoping steering wheel, because now I can drive in even more comfort. It does take a while to get, at least for me and for you too.
Yeah, I like the steering wheel
position it needs a little bit of work, and so
I have long legs and not short arms, but my arm to leg ratio is a little weird. So I like for the steering wheel to be back, because I have to put the seat pretty far back.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely something that had to be done. Let's pull up in front of these cool old gas pumps, and we'll get some photos of this thing here at the world famous Topoko Lodge. This place is really cool. Built in like the 30s and 40s as a town for the local engineers that built all the hydroelectric dams, one of the hydroelectric dams in this area, to live in. They converted it into a resort now.
So this is where the workers used to live, like a kind of a dorm.
Well, it was
housing.
like a town. They actually moved here and lived here for years. They didn't just travel here for short stints like they do these days.
Yeah.
This is where people lived for years and years while they built that dam over there, and this was their home, their community. Pretty cool.
Nice.
All right, there you go. Cuts it right off.
Excellent.
Right on time. Stop double trouble spiking me. All right, so we're going to practice this traction control process here.
All right.
With all these buttons, so.
You can do it in any order. So you want to start by putting it in the drift mode.
Drift mode. Track use only.
Push and hold that guy.
This guy.
Yep. Push and hold.
ESC. Hold the switch ESC off. Counting up.
All right. And it gives you one last.
Just so you know.
Just so you know.
There's like a display that goes like a timer on it. Cool. Says.
And that's really it. And then if you want, if you want to leave the shocks on the standard.
So that didn't have to be pushed.
It didn't. I think I actually disabled it in the menus already, so you don't have to worry about it interfering.
Gotcha. And the mirrors look like they're pointing downwards.
Because I was watching my line, making sure I wasn't crossing.
Oh, okay. Getting a feel for the car.
Yeah. Perimeter outline. Not quite sure.
Steering wheel's nice. It looks so much better. I hate the BRZ FRS steering wheel. It's like one of the ugliest steering wheels to me. Now, didn't it like pop and crackle sometimes?
Yeah,
on
I disabled that.
Oh, really?
That nonsense, yeah. I couldn't stand that. You want to be in second.
Buzzkill, yeah. There's this bump right here that matters.
Floor it. Yeah, it's okay. It took me about 5 corners to trust it.
It has too much grip.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. It's a leap of faith, right? You have to floor it
really toss it in there.
before you get to the apex. And then it comes out, just a little bit. Very, very controllable.
Yeah, how that famous video of the guy wrecking in the canyon, I don't really...
We don't want to reenact that.
I don't know how he did that. It must have... Something happened before he came into the shot, apparently.
Well, it looked like he was coming in super fast, and he was also headed uphill, which means that there wasn't a lot of weight on the front of the car. So he probably just turned the wheel and it understeered and didn't get enough rotation going. Because it looked like he just understeered right off.
Similar to the suspension we have on the BRZ that's pretty compliant. It's not really racy. Just kind of what you want on these roads.
There you go.
I'm kind of lifting the front tire there too on that little hump coming out of it. Skinny car, so it gives you some room to kind of wiggle to in that lane and not be across the line.
Good job, Daryl. Thanks for not putting it into the mountain.
Thanks, Dad. Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to get it to kind of break loose. It's kind of cool, Behind these slow ass bikers. Cool. Very fun.